Welcome to the making of history. Nathan B. Baskind is today being reunited with his country and with his people.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Samantha Baskind, the great niece of Lieutenant Nathan Baskind.
It's a surreal moment for a great niece to offer reflections at her uncle's burial 80 years after he died. I don't think there's much of a precedent for this. A lot of people have now heard about Nathan Baskind's bones. Today I want to share a bit about the man. A shadowy figure in my childhood, all I knew about Nate was a refrain my dad would occasionally say. Your Uncle Nate was a great Jewish American war hero. After Operation Benjamin contacted me last year about the possibility that Nate's remains might be recoverable, I set out to learn more. Nate was born June 1st, 1916, about 5 minutes after his twin sister, Pearl. The twins joined their brother, Sam, my grandfather, who was 2 years older. I'm named after Sam. Nate's parents, my great-grandparents, were Abe and Lena. They were Eastern European immigrants, and I wonder sometimes if they regretted coming to the United States after their son died so young in the Army. Did they think, maybe we should have taken our chances back in the old country? Perhaps Abe and Lena didn't know they were having twins and were so caught off guard that they had no time to come up with middle names when the birth certificates needed to be signed. Or perhaps the language barrier came into play. Or maybe they wanted to underscore the deep connection between twins. Whatever the case, Pearl's middle name was Sister. Yes, that's on her birth certificate. And Nate's middle name on his birth certificate is Brother. That's what the B stands for, brother. Within the family, Nate and Pearl were always called Sis and Brother. Nate grew up in Squirrel Hill, back then an idyllic shtetl in Pittsburgh. The family had done well. Theirs was an immigrant success story. Abe was a smart businessman. First, he sold cigars called Baskinolas. That was after immigrating to Cleveland. Then he opened a wallpaper store named Peerless Wallpaper after settling permanently in Pittsburgh. Before he was drafted, Nate had been managing Peerless branches in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and Wheeling, West Virginia. Nate went to Peabody High School. He looks very debonair in his yearbook photo. He has slicked black hair and a distinctive cowlick. The black and white photos online don't do justice to Nate's piercing blue eyes, but you can get a sense of them from his yearbook photo. There I learned some welcome personal facts. He played football at Peabody High for 3 years. He was a member of 3 clubs. The Peabodonian Club, the Smoking Committee, and the 500 Committee. I don't know what those clubs did, but Nate was clearly active and involved at his school. The only member of our immediate family still alive who knew Nate is my Uncle Mark, Sam's son. Mark was 1.5 years when Nate died, but he remembers hearing that Nate was a very good student. Nate's yearbook also lists each graduate's ambition and favorite remark. Nate's ambition was to be a successful businessman, and his favorite remark was, "As I live and breathe." I have a few other photos of Nate that I look at now. There's an adorable photo of Nate and Pearl as toddlers. They both wear all white and they have bowl cuts. Nate is holding a stuffed animal against his chest, and Pearl holds a ball. Someone put the wrong shoes on the twins. Pearl wears little boots, and Nate has on Mary Jane's. I placed that photo in Nate's uniform pocket a few minutes ago. There's a picture taken in a studio by a professional photographer of Nate and Pearl sitting next to each other. They're around 13 years old. He's wearing a white button-up shirt, and the tail of his tie sticks out. She's smartly dressed in a blazer. Their heads are touching, and they sit so close to each other that Pearl's body rests against half of Nate's torso. There's another photo where Nate is around 18 years old. He's sitting on a wooden box, and it looks like he's holding a fishing rod. He's earnestly leaning toward the camera with the most genial tilt of his head. A different photo shows Nate in his uniform, almost head to toe, and he's smoking a pipe. There's a photo of Nate and my dad as a toddler, soon before Nate was shipped off to war. Nate proudly holds his first nephew in his lap in front of the family home on Darlington Road. There's a headstone in the family cemetery in Pittsburgh with a reproduction of Nate's service photo on it, his name, and the dates of his life, 1916 to 1944. Etched in the stone, it says, "Lost in the service of his country at rest in France." And that brings us to now. Nate had been resting, but not so easily. Today, he will really be at rest in France. Today, a jagged scar in my family will be at least partially healed. I stand before you representing the Baskind family, along with my cousin Stuart, Nate's nephew and Pearl's son. Today is for Nate, Abe, Lena, Sam, and Pearl, and for all those whose hearts ached after Nate died, and for all those whose hearts ache today. After Nate died, Abe wrote to the Army for several years, desperately inquiring about his son. In July 1949, Lieutenant Colonel W.E. Campbell from the Army's Memorial Division sent a final letter to Abe, informing him that Nate's remains were unrecoverable. He signed off the letter. This is Lieutenant Colonel Campbell. "May the knowledge of your son's honorable service to his country be a source of sustaining comfort to you, who gave your loved one under circumstances so difficult that there is no grave at which to pay homage. We are here to finally pay homage to a great Jewish American war hero, a son, a brother, an uncle who was well loved and desperately missed. May his memory be for a blessing."